I hope I made sense there. Hey everyone, I'm Uwa and welcome back to my channel. So if you're new here, feel free to follow me on my Instagram and check out my website. I'll leave that below here and also I'll link it down in the description just to find out some more information about me. Just over a week ago I posted 2 videos to help you get ready for Year 12 and Year 13. If you've not already watched either of those, you 100% do not want to miss out. So I'll link them on top, I think it's at this side or it might be the other side, and I'll also link them below. So yeah, definitely check those out and get all the advice and all the tips that you need to be ready for your 2 years at college. So with this video it's going to be of a similar theme, but instead it's just going to be general advice for your whole A-level and college experience. Don't forget to hit subscribe, smash the thumbs up button and follow me on my Instagram to keep up to date with my posts where I do loads of A-level advice and I help aspiring medics. I think that's all I have to say for now. Enjoy the video. First bit of advice is just to be organised. I've done a post about this on my Instagram which you can check out, I'll link below again, but that was generally just for your stationery. So yeah, have a look at that if you want to know all the organisation tips that I advise for stationery. But I'm going to give you some tips now on organising your folders and your day folders. So I always recommend that you start with at least 2 lever arch folders for each subject. So these are going to stay at home and one's going to be for all your classwork and maybe even your homework, and the other one's going to be for your revision and any class test and mock test or mock exams that you do. I say put it in that folder because I class your test papers as your revision. So in terms of your organisation for that folder, I wish I had one to show you right now. But I'd recommend that first of all you have like a summarised version of your specification stuck on the inside flap when you open up your revision folder. With that you're going to colour code each topic, and hopefully if you can do it, get coloured dividers that match your colour code. So for example, for my Year 2 biology folder, one of the topics were organisms, and I colour coded this orange on the simplified specification and the divider for that was orange. And quite obviously behind that divider was all the revision resources that I needed for that topic. In the summarised specification, all it would say is just the subtopics below that organism topic, for example. Also with this, I'd recommend that you put your revision in plastic wallets rather than in papers. This one makes it easier to take something out and then carry it with you to college. And 2, it prevents the papers from ripping and being really untidy. I really recommend that you try and keep your folders tidy and organised, especially your revision folder, as you can, because if it's quite messy it's going to put you off revising from it. For me, from my own experience, my first year biology revision folder was a mess and I never touched that when it came to revising. I would just always make new resources, so basically I'd waste my time making all those previous resources, but the folder was in such a mess that I never wanted to go back to it. It just put me off. And alongside your lever arch folder, I recommend you should have what I call a day folder. So with this, you're going to take in college with you every single day. Your lever arch folders at home, with time, are going to get very full and very heavy, and already on their own they're quite big to carry around. And in my college, the only time I'd bring my lever arch folders in was when we had a file check. So for your day folder, you're going to want one of those quite thin, like cardboard like folders, and you're going to have everything you need in there for each week. I say it's a day folder, but I found it easier just to have what I needed in there every single week, and the only time I really touch it or take anything out of it was when I finish a topic or subtopic at the end and the start of the week. For example, if I didn't have chemistry on a Wednesday, I take my chemistry stuff out, but I found that doing it that way I was often leaving stuff at home that I needed, so it just got too messy. So instead, pack the folder for the week and feel free to review it each night to make sure that it's up to date, but I don't really recommend that you take some out if you don't have a lesson because you might forget to put it back in. So my next tip, it's going to sound really obvious and probably you might be like, what's the point, but just be on time for lesson. And I say this again from my own experience. In second year I was driving to college, and I found that when you're driving you don't have to get up a bit early for the bus, or you aren't going to be getting to college maybe half an hour early you need to because that's the time the bus gets there. So I was going at my own time, taking it a bit more leisurely, and I wouldn't quite account for traffic. So with that, especially on a Tuesday and I think it was a Wednesday when I had chemistry first, I would always come in late. Like I didn't really like that because I'd miss out on the starters for lessons, or I just feel awkward coming in late. And this isn't to say that if you are late don't go at all. It is better late than never, but when you can and as much as you can, just try to go to lessons on time. This also goes for after breaks and after lunch. Don't be the person who walks in eating a sausage balm at 11:30 in the morning. Just get to your lessons on time and be ready to learn. My next tip, again another obvious one and one that you've heard since you started high school, but complete all homework when it's set. This is because the homework you set is actually going to benefit you, and they give it to you for a reason, whether you want to believe it or not. They're not exactly going to chase you up for it, but some teachers might have punishments, might tell you during lessons, go and sit in the library and complete it then and come back once you finished it. And if you're going to do that, you're going to miss out on what they're learning right then and there in the lessons. So you're going to end up doing the homework that you avoided. You're wasting your own time and you're basically just playing catch up, which isn't worth it. My fourth tip is to revise little and often. I said this in a post that I put up on my Instagram about developing good study habits, and I really do say it all the time because it's true. You just want to get into the habit of revising little and often. When it comes to your final exams at the end of year 2, you know how to revise, you've tried and tested things and you know what works for you and what doesn't. So rather than panicking in your final 2 weeks or final month for your exams, you're just going to go with it and go with the flow, and hopefully that will make things a lot easier for you and a lot more relaxed. For me, in first year college, I did quite well in my early assessments in the first few weeks. That's because I started revising early. I got myself into the habit of, when I got home from college, just doing my work for a few hours and then chilling for the evening. Also during the day, I use my study periods effectively. So what I'm trying to say is that you don't have to do hardcore revision from the start, but just establish that routine and get into good habits. It's not going to come as a shock to you when the work ramps up in year 13 or towards the end of year 12. This next tip falls on a little bit from the previous tip I just gave, and I've definitely said this in my previous A-level videos, but just know when to revise and know when to socialise. There's nothing wrong with having a social life. It's okay and it's actually great to be able to socialise as well as do your college work, but just don't let your grades suffer at the expense of having a social life. You need to be able to strike that work-life balance. For example, when it comes to a part-time job, find out what works for you and what you're comfortable with, and just be able to strike that balance between your college work, your part-time job and your social life. It is possible and it is doable. I did it in year 13, and although the workload was a lot greater, and I probably was facing a lot more stress in year 13 than I was in year 12, I probably still enjoy that year more because I was going out with my friends more often than I was the year before. I am going to be giving subject specific advice for the subjects that I did, biology, chemistry and psychology, and those will be out pretty soon. Now this is just some advice for any subject, but know and understand your subject. So by this I mean know your exam board, know your specification and the skills required for your course and that subject. Just explain a bit more. By skills required, I mean, like, is it memory based, or is there a lot of application, is there any maths in that subject, or is it essay based? For anything that isn't A-level maths, it is going to be very basic maths. In psychology there was maths, but it was somewhat a base level of maths. It was just statistics, your mean, your median and your mode. Nothing too complicated, but it was still part of the exam and you're still going to get marks for it. You don't have to know these right at the start of year 12, that's completely fine. I definitely didn't realise the maths that was involved in any of my subjects until I started learning them and coming across them, which again is completely okay. But just have that awareness of it. And you want to make sure by January in year 13 that you do know these skills required, because your exams are in less than 5 months, which probably sounds like a while off, but to fit 2 years worth of content, revision and learning the skills in 5 months, as well as exam technique, that's not a lot of time. Just as you come across them, make sure you're familiarising yourself with them and getting comfortable and you're able to use these skills required for your subject. And just as important, like I said before, know your exam board and know your specification, because if you're going home and printing off the wrong specification or you got the wrong revision guides, that's going to affect your grades. Every exam board might have similar content, but they still require different things and they test you differently. So make sure you're doing exam practice specific to those exam boards and you're learning the correct content. Again, something similar with your exam board specification. Make sure you've got and you're using the correct revision resources. On my website, I hope to have a link with a lot of websites and useful revision resources that I used. I'll link it in the description below and you can check that out. Again, they're going to be recommended based on the subjects that I did, so biology, chemistry, psychology. But on those websites, you might still find stuff for other subjects, so feel free to have a look at them and browse through and see what's useful towards you. It's important that you're using the right revision resources. For example, I'd always recommend that you use actual past exam papers and what your exam boards apply to you online instead of using another brand practice papers. And I see it like this because if you were to go for a fight or if you're up against a world-class pro boxer, you're going to want to train with someone who's of similar level rather than an amateur boxer. So apply this to your studies. If you're going to sit an exam, you're going to want to train and use the actual and the correct revision resources. You're going to want to be as close to the real thing as you can, and this is only going to be possible through using those in your practices. I hope it made sense there. In terms of maybe revision guides, I recommend for biology Tool and Tool AQA revision book, and it also comes with like a textbook as well, but personally I never use them at home. I only use them in college. At home I had the CGP biology and chemistry revision guides. These are really good, as for me I found that they were appealing to learn from. I like things that are brightly coloured and have pictures, and I even enjoy the corny jokes, so those are great. And they also had an online version, and I took my laptop pretty much everywhere with me when it came to college, so it was just convenient just to get that out and use the online library rather than having those two heavy books in my bag. As far as psychology, I would use the pink haired girl and the green haired girl revision guides. These are AQA approved. My sister used them and then she passed them down to me, and we both got A stars in psychology, so those books are doing something right. And then again for biology, I'd also recommend Seneca Learning. This is something that's free, but it's only got a limited free version, but I found, unless they've changed it, I found that the free version was enough, more than enough for what I needed to learn the content. One last thing that I used for chemistry was Snap Revise. Moving on to my next piece of advice, a bad grade is okay. No other way of saying it, but a bad grade really is okay. It can be frustrating, I know I've been there quite a few times, so I know how upsetting it is when even like when you feel like you've worked really hard but you still get a rubbish grade. If you do get a bad grade, just try not to be too disheartened. Like I said, I know how it feels, I've been there and it can be so upsetting, but what's more important is what you take away from this grade. How can you improve and how can you avoid this grade again, and how can you avoid feeling like this? Something that definitely spurs me on was I'd never want to be disappointed in my final grades. This was my attitude at GCSE and again at A-level. That did put a lot of pressure on me, but it got me the outcome that I wanted for both those qualifications. Learn from your mistakes. So in particular your mistakes on exam papers. Properly reflect on your exam papers. I'm going to briefly give you my technique of how I would reflect on my biology and chemistry papers. This is an adapted version from Unjaded Jade's technique. It's called marks. So for every single past paper question that I would mark and review or full past paper, I would always write the acronym marks or what it fully stood for at the front of the paper. I've got this here, and this is like an end of topic question pack that I got from my college. But yeah, you can't see it, but I'll fully explain it and how it worked. So M was a mistake, and this was any general mistake that I would make just answering the question. So for example, if I need to do some working out and I missed out a step. So A was application to question, and this was my own ability to apply my knowledge to the question. R was reading the question. If I made a mistake reading the question, which honestly I often did because I'm very quick when it comes to answering questions and exam papers, that was a flaw that I had. C was for calculations. These are any bog standard calculations that I should know that are part of the subject and the course. K was knowledge. This is for my own knowledge, and if I had any gaps in my knowledge, so I would highlight that and I would know this one that I definitely need to go over again in my revision. And then S was for standard answers. So by that I mean exam perfect answers, things that I can learn and recall off the top of my head. My next tip is don't be intimidated, and by that I mean just feel comfortable and be confident in asking your teachers questions when you need help. This is really important as they are there for a reason, so you should make use of them, and they're going to be the ones who are going to help you when you need it. I am an advocate for being quite independent when it comes to your learning and going at your own pace, but your teachers, like I said, are there to help you, so don't be afraid of that. Don't be too embarrassed to ask questions in lessons. Everyone knows that I would either shout out or always have my hand up. In my lessons I was constantly asking questions. To be honest, in biology it was like a one-to-one all the time. But yeah, don't feel intimidated, don't think people are going to judge you. Everyone is there to learn, and don't forget that you are there and you are working for your own personal grades. For clarification, don't be afraid to ask. It's your learning, take it into your own hands. Stay behind if you need to. See your teachers at lunchtime if it's convenient. Just make the most of your teachers and ask questions. And my final tip is just to enjoy college as much as you can. Yes, it can be a very, very stressful experience, but if there are some things that you look forward to and can find joy in, then hold on to those. For me personally, one of my favourite things about college was seeing my friends. I made some of the best friends in college, and they lived quite a distance away, so we couldn't always meet up at the weekends or after college. So just going in to see them, knowing I'd see them before college or maybe at breaks or briefly at lunch was something that I really looked forward to all the time, and it really did make the whole experience more enjoyable. So as much as you can, enjoy college, get involved in activities, extracurricular, whatever your college has there, make the most of it and enjoy your college experience. So that's the end of the video, and that's just some general advice I have for A-levels and for college. Like I said, more More subject specific advice will be coming for the subjects that I did, biology, chemistry and psychology. But I hope you found this video useful, and if you enjoyed it, remember to give it a thumbs up, just hit that like button and subscribe, and also turn on post notifications so you don't miss out on my A-level videos. And follow me on Instagram for lots more advice and lots more help, especially if you're applying to medicine. I give loads of tips on there to help your application. Thank you for watching guys, and I'll see you in my next video.